Pain. It's one of life's great certainties, right? We all know it's coming. But what if suffering was optional? In this explainer, we're going to dive into a really powerful guide for completely transforming your relationship with physical pain, turning it from this overwhelming force into something you can actually manage with skill. If you've ever tried to meditate, you know the mind just loves to wander. It's a constant battle. But here's the real question. If we can't control our own minds when things are pretty good, when we're calm and comfortable, what's going to happen when we face the real stuff? The inevitable pains of getting older, of illness, and eventually the end of life. That is when this kind of training becomes absolutely essential.
So here's our game plan. We'll start by digging into why our minds struggle so much in the first place. Then we'll build a toolkit with 4 key qualities for focus. After that, we'll learn how to create a safe zone away from pain, find out how to actively reframe it, and finally, we'll talk about the ultimate payoff for all of this mental work.
Okay, first up, let's lay the groundwork. Why is this so hard to begin with? Well, it really all comes down to the nature of an untrained mind. And this is really the central challenge, isn't it? A mind that's always getting pulled around by distractions and worries is just not prepared for life's biggest hurdles. The skills you develop to simply stay with your breath, believe it or not, those are the exact same skills you're going to need when the body starts to break down and real pain shows up. It's all about being ready. So, how do we build that readiness? Well, it's not about using brute force. It's about skill. One ancient approach says that to really achieve concentration, you need to cultivate 4 specific mental qualities. This is our toolkit. First, you gotta have desire, a real, genuine motivation because you see how important this is. Second, you need effort, that persistence to let go of what isn't working and develop what does. Third is intent, and that just means paying really close attention to what your mind is actually doing. And finally, analysis. The ingenuity to figure out, hey, what does my mind need right now? This analogy is just brilliant for explaining those last 2 qualities, intent and analysis. Imagine your mind is a picky king. He's not going to tell you what he needs to settle down. You, like the cook, have to watch him carefully. Does he like a long breath today, a short one? You just observe what works, what he reaches for, and you give him more of that. You become a master chef for your own mind.
All right, let's get practical. When you're dealing with pain, the first step is actually pretty counterintuitive. You don't just charge straight at it. No, first you find solid ground.
The strategy is kind of like dealing with the rotten mango. You don't eat the bad spot, right? You eat the good part. If a house has some rotten floorboards, you don't go lie down on them. It's the same idea. If you have pain in your knee, you don't focus on the knee. You find a part of your body that actually feels good, and you focus there instead. You're essentially building a base of operations. Pick a spot, maybe it's the middle of your chest or your hands, anywhere you can feel the breath in a comfortable way. You focus there, and you really work on cultivating a sense of ease and well-being in that one spot. This becomes your secure foundation, your safe zone. There's a great historical analogy for this. King Duxan of Siam. He didn't attack the capital right away. First, he retreated to a safe region, he gathered his forces, built up his strength, and then he attacked. You do the same thing. You build your mental strength in the comfort of the breath before you even think about tackling the pain. From this strong foundation, you can start to engage. You visualize this good, comfortable breath energy spreading through your whole body. But here's the trick. You don't let it stop at the pain. You imagine the breath flowing right through it, as if the pain is a wall, but the breath is fine enough to just pass right through. This starts to dissolve all that tension we subconsciously build around painful spots. So once you have a stable base and you're no longer feeling threatened by the pain, you can level up your strategy. It's time to turn and face it directly. But you're going to change your role. You are no longer a victim. You become an investigator. This is a massive shift in perspective. Instead of just passively sitting there enduring the sensation, you start actively probing it with questions. The very act of questioning changes the whole dynamic. The pain just can't hit you as hard when you're the one on the offensive, examining it. So what kind of questions are we talking about? Well, here's a powerful one to start with. Ask yourself, is the pain the same thing as my awareness of the pain? I mean, it might feel like it's invaded your mind, but are they really the same entity? Think of it like this. Right now, the air around you is filled with countless radio waves from all different stations. They're all occupying the same space, but they're on different frequencies.
Well, your awareness, your body, and your pain, they're just like that. They might coexist in one spot, but they are not the same thing. And learning to see that separation is the key to not suffering from the pain.
Okay, here's another perception-shifting question. We often feel like pain is this aggressor, right? This incoming force that's attacking us. But is that really what's happening?
Try this powerful mental flip. Instead of seeing yourself in the front seat of a car with everything coming at you, imagine you're sitting in one of those backward-facing seats in an old station wagon. Everything you see is already moving away from you. See your pain like that. Each little burst of sensation arises and is already gone, already moving off into the distance. So your investigator's toolkit just keeps growing. You can ask, is the pain the same thing as my physical body? You can try to pinpoint its strongest part and chase it around, noticing how it moves and shifts. All of this investigation helps you see that this idea of pain as some solid, single thing, it's just not true. The ultimate goal of all this questioning is something called calming mental fabrication. That's just a fancy way of saying you're deconstructing the old stories and labels, the perceptions we have about pain, and you're replacing them with more skillful ones. You're stopping the raw physical sensation from becoming mental suffering, that thing that stabs the heart.
So, why does all this matter beyond just getting through a meditation session? This brings us to the ultimate payoff. The real reason this training is one of the most important things we can ever do.
This is a stark way to look at it, but it's powerful. Every single one of us has signed a contract to have a body. And if you read the fine print of that contract, it states that this agreement gets terminated by death, which is always preceded by aging and illness. That is a non-negotiable clause. And this right here is the profound promise. If your mind is trained, it doesn't have to be overwhelmed by the terms of that contract. You can develop the skills to face aging, illness, and even death without being totally crushed by suffering. You can get your weapons sharpened, get your foundations strong, and you can actually come out winning. So, in the end, it really all comes down to a choice. The physical sensations of pain, they're inevitable. But whether that pain becomes a prison that traps you in fear and suffering, or a teacher that pushes you to develop strength, resilience, and wisdom, that choice, well, that's entirely up to you.